So we have a couple questions. One was, when you're designing solutions in terms of your own internal solutions, are you always thinking about the appropriate recovery strategy?
I'd like to, but the reality, let's talk about reality, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are under pressure for resources and time, so they're going to take the least path of least resistance. So yeah, it doesn't always happen, and it usually happens after the fact. Tabletop exercise is a good way of fleshing that out.
So let me ask you the question du jour. Do you agree with the general consensus that quarterly is kind of the bare minimum?
Depends. Because,
here you go.
So, you know, tabletop exercises happen in two ways: the technical tabletop exercise and the political or management level tabletop exercise. They don't happen together. Why? Because there's a time compression factor, right? So for the executive side or the management side of incident response, you want to compress that time so they're not wasting their time listening to everything that's going on at the technical level.
We actually combine the two because the time compression is absolutely critical. You're not going to get the executives to sit around for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 2 days, but you can kind of build in that time factor. But I want to ask something where you might want to disagree. I
always disagree.
Yeah. Well, many vendors and pundits, like me, promote that Zero Trust will rid organizations of traditional perimeter controls. There's a lot of money invested in these devices. Why would we throw that away?
So let's forget the word perimeters and perimeterless, and let's think about, if you want to talk about perimeters, think about granularity. So the perimeter is coarse-grained security. We're trying to get to more finer-grained security. In fact, if you have legacy systems, you're going to actually have to put a firewall or a perimeter around that and treat that entire segment as a zero trust control, because there's a lot of mainframe systems out there that have global any access.
Fair enough, and actually one of the things I like about SDP is you can front end all those legacy systems. What I was making faces on is I hadn't thought about that as a perimeter, but you're absolutely correct. That said, several years ago I posted something on LinkedIn saying essentially IT advances one retirement at a time, because many years ago there's a scientist, I think it was Pascal, but I'm not sure, who said science advances one funeral at a time because people will just hang on to their paradigms until they're gone. And one of the fundamental problems is there are an awful lot of people walking around who started their security careers with the invention of the firewall. I know because I was there. And it was like you just spent 25 years talking about firewalls and you have 5 more years to go to retirement. And if you can just stretch that firewall 5 more years, you won't have to do this new zero trust stuff. Unfortunately, as John pointed out, you should have done it 2 years ago. So my answer to why would we throw that all away is because it was obsolete 2 years ago, and don't fall into the sunk cost fallacy. We all know economics, don't do that. But it sounds like you're a little gentler about that, and you'd like to sort of reposition it as a way of rethinking, but still, if you had old school firewalls, give them up.
Yeah, if you've already paid for them, just keep them in place, just layer this on top. It's defense in depth.
Except for the fact that there's the SecOps cost, which is every new product, the joke earlier was, you can judge the efficacy of a product by the volume of cursing, because that means you actually deployed it.
SOC burnout, yeah.
Yeah. So we have 1 minute left. In 1 minute, how would you advise folks to start moving towards zero trust if they somehow missed it?
Well, if you're in financial services, start talking with your partners. I mean, that's the biggest thing. FSISAC is a great place to do that. WSTA have these little small meetings where you're talking about what's important for you as a firm for zero trust. Is it identity access management? Is it microseg? And why, right? Again, and then abstract that out to capabilities. So that way you're all on the same page.
Okay, excellent answer. Just a reminder, thank you, John, for presenting.